I've built a six-figure business from digital products, but here's what people don't usually see. My business didn't grow because I kept making more money. It grew because I learned how to manage it properly. When you're running a business, earning money is only half the job. If you don't know how to manage it, it disappears just as fast. And trust me, I learned that early on. I made questionable purchases, spent on things I didn't need, and had zero systems in place. So in today's video, I'm sharing the money habits that helped me fix that. Habits that kept my business stable and sustainable. Build these now and your business won't just survive, it'll hold its power. Okay, habit number 1 is knowing your minimum viable lifestyle. This is basically the lowest amount you need to live comfortably. Not lavishly, not Pinterest aesthetic living, just your real non-negotiable monthly expenses. Rent, groceries, bills, a little buffer, that's it. When I figured out this number, it gave me so much clarity because I finally knew exactly how much my business needed to make to support my life. And once you know this number, it naturally leads you to your minimum income floor, which is the consistent amount you pay yourself every month. So instead of paying myself based on whatever my business earns, I decide on a set minimum amount I can sustain even during slow seasons. So let's say one month I make $20,000 and another month I make $10,000. My personal income stays the same. It doesn't go up and down with my sales. Why is this important? Because when you're running an online business, your income will fluctuate. That's normal. But your bills don't fluctuate. Your expenses don't suddenly shrink just because business was slow. This habit forced me to build a buffer during the high months so the low months never feel scary anymore. It also stopped lifestyle creep, which is when your lifestyle gets more and more expensive the moment you start earning more. Instead of spending more just because I had a big month, I learned to let the business keep some of that money so it could sustain me long term. This made my finances so much more predictable, and honestly, it took away so much stress because my personal life wasn't riding the roller coaster of my business income anymore. Habit number 2 is something I didn't even realize was a money habit at first, and it's what I call being aware of your energy tax. The energy tax is basically the hidden cost behind anything that drains you. Not money, energy. Sometimes the things that cost you the most aren't expensive financially, but they're expensive emotionally. They take up mental space, they drain your creativity, and they slow down your momentum, which eventually affects your income. For example, a tool that's cheap but clunky costs energy. A system that's disorganized costs energy. A workflow that takes 3 hours instead of 30 minutes also costs energy. And the truth is, when your energy is drained, you create less. You experiment less, you avoid your business, and your income naturally goes down. So this habit is simply learning to ask, does this cost me money or does this cost me energy? Because energy draining things are way more expensive in the long run. Once I learned this, I stopped choosing things based only on price and started choosing the option that protected my energy. And honestly, that decision alone made me so much more productive, creative, and consistent, which is exactly what helped my business income grow. Habit number 3 is what I call the buy time first. In the beginning, I was so stingy with my business expenses. I didn't want to spend money on anything, software, tools, subscriptions, because I was bootstrapping. I wanted to save as much as I could. And honestly, that's fair. When you're just getting started, every dollar feels like it has to be protected. But here's what I learned. Money comes and goes, but your time is the real asset in a digital product business. And it's something you have to protect, especially if you're building this on top of a 9-to-5 or you're a beginner juggling everything at once. You only have 24 hours in a day. And most of those hours are already taken by work, commuting, family, life. So the little time you do have, that time is gold. That's why now I'm no longer afraid to spend money on tools that I know will buy me back my time. For example, video editing. I used to edit all my videos myself because outsourcing felt too expensive. In my mind, I was saving money by keeping that task for myself. But one video took me 2 to 3 full days to finish. That's 2 to 3 days spent sitting in front of a computer instead of creating more content, writing scripts, making digital products, or simply resting. When I finally decided to outsource my editing, yes, it cost money, but the amount of time I got back life-changing. Suddenly, I had the bandwidth to film more videos, brainstorm new ideas, and focus on tasks that actually move my business forward. And I wasn't burning out in the process. Here's the thing people forget. Your time has a monetary value. Every hour you spend doing something has a cost attached to it. When you start treating your time like it's worth something, because it is, you realize that holding on to tasks just to save money is actually what's costing you more. So the habit is simple. Before spending, ask yourself, does this buy me time? If it does, it's almost always worth it. Because the money might leave your bank account, but the time you get back can help you earn even more. Habit number 4 is something I call the monthly money date, which is basically sitting down with myself once a month and reviewing my finances like an actual business owner. And I say date because I want it to feel approachable, not scary. This is just me and my numbers having a conversation. No judgment, no shame, just clarity. During my money date, I look at things like how much I earned, what I spend, what tools I'm actually using, what subscriptions I can cancel, how much I set aside for taxes, what I need to adjust for next month. It's really about being aware because you cannot scale what you don't track. If you don't know where your money is coming from or where it's going, you can't make decisions that move you forward. And to give you an example, every time I do a money monthly date, I always find at least one subscription I've been paying for but haven't used in months. And these things add up. That's money that could have stayed in the business or gone towards something that actually matters. Another thing I wouldn't have noticed without these monthly check-ins is where the majority of my income is coming from. And because I can see that clearly, I know exactly where to focus more of my time and energy so I can scale that part of my business that's already performing well. It's little things like this that you'll never catch unless you sit down and look at the full picture every month. And having that clarity is one of the things that helped me grow my digital product business to 6 figures. And since we're already talking about my money monthly date, I want to show you where I actually do that. I do it inside Xero, which is the sponsor of today's video, and it fits perfectly with what we're talking about. If you're not familiar with Xero, it's an all-in-one cloud-based accounting platform designed for small businesses. Basically, it gives you a clear real-time picture of your income, expenses, and cash flow all in one place, which is exactly what you need when you're trying to make smarter decisions in your business. My accountant uses Xero, so naturally, this is where I always go to check my numbers. I cannot show my actual numbers because my accountants will probably kill me, but I can show you a demo company so you can see what the dashboard looks like. So here's an example of how you can set up your dashboard inside Xero. Up here, I can see my business bank accounts. Right below it, I can see any bills I need to pay, basically invoices I haven't settled yet. I have an overview of my net profit or loss year to date, meaning I can see how much income came in and how much expenses went out. Xero shows you any tasks you still need to do, like reconciling transactions. All the invoices owed to you live here too. And you can monitor your chart of accounts, for example, how much you're spending on advertising, software, entertainment, subscriptions, everything. You can even check your cash flow, which shows you how much money is moving in and out of your business every month. And the best part, you're not tracking any of this manually. Once you connect your bank account, Xero automatically categorizes your transactions and builds all of these insights for you. This makes reviewing your finances during your monthly money date so much easier. And this kind of ties back to one of the habits I talked about earlier, the buy time first habit, because this is one of those tools that gives you so much of your time back. If you were to track all of this inside a spreadsheet manually, it would take hours. Setting up a proper accounting system like Xero means everything is done for you in the background. You just log in and see the full picture of your business. So if you want to get clearer with your finances and you want a tool that supports you as your business grows, you can try Xero using the link below. As of the time of filming, they're offering 90% off for 6 months for my audience. Terms and conditions apply, and all the details are in the description box. And thank you so much to Xero for sponsoring this part of the video. Habit number 5 is something I wish I started way earlier, and it's what I call the tiny taxes everyday habit. It's basically the idea of building small buffers everywhere in your business. Here's what I mean. Most people wait until the end of the month, or worse, the end of the year, to set aside money for taxes and expenses. And that's when the panic happens because suddenly you're looking at this huge number coming out of your account all at once. What I started doing instead was breaking everything down into tiny amounts, micro transfers. Every time I got a payout, even a small one, I'd set aside a little bit for taxes, a little bit for business expenses, a little bit for slow months. For example, let's say you know you'll owe around $1,000 in taxes. If you divide that by 365 days, that's about $2.74 per day. $2 and change. That feels so much lighter than suddenly needing to pay a full $1,000 at once. And when you break it down like that, you don't feel it as much. But over time, those tiny amounts build up into a tax buffer, a slow season buffer, a software renewal buffer, a surprise expense buffer. But here's the real reason this habit mattered. When you're constantly panicking about finances in your business, it starts to feel like it's not working. You feel like you're drowning. You feel like every month is a losing battle. And that's usually the point where people quit, not because their business can't work, but because the financial stress makes it feel impossible. Having buffers removes that panic. When you're not constantly stressed about money, you finally have the mental space to actually run your business, to experiment with new ideas, take bigger risks, create more products, and think clearly. It has a bigger correlation than you think. This habit didn't just help me save money, it helped me stay consistent long enough to reach 6 figures. That's why building small buffers everywhere became a non-negotiable part of how I run my business. Habit number 6 is something I wish someone taught me earlier, and I call it the 2-part goals. Most of us only set one type of goal, the revenue goal. I want to make $5,000 this month, or I want to hit 6 figures this year. And those goals sound great, but the problem is revenue goals don't tell you what to do. They're just the end result. So instead of only setting revenue goals, I started setting behavior goals to match them. The specific actions I need to take consistently to make those revenue numbers possible. Things like uploading a certain number of products per month, posting this many videos every month, creating a new product line every 2 weeks. These are the behaviors that drive the revenue. So now every time I set an income goal, I pair it with the behaviors that will get me there. That's why I call it the 2-part goals, 1 goal for the money, 1 goal for the actions. Because a revenue goal without a behavior goal is just a wish. It's a nice sentence, but it doesn't give you any direction. Habit number 7 is something that took me a while to understand, and it's what I call the make your money work habit. A lot of people feel safer keeping money just sitting in their bank account, untouched. And don't get me wrong, having a buffer is important, but letting all your money just sit there doesn't actually help you grow. In fact, with inflation, the value of that money slowly decreases over time. So even though it feels safe, it's actually losing power. That's why one of the biggest habits I built was learning to put my money somewhere it can grow, multiply, or give me more time back. Because money that's actively working will always beat money that's just sitting still. And this can look like a lot of different things. Investing in tools that help you earn more. For example, product research tools, design tools, mock-up generators, anything that lets you create faster, better, or smarter. It can be outsourcing tasks, editing, admin, customer service, so you can focus on the things that actually generate revenue. Time is money, and outsourcing buys you back hours so you can reinvest into higher value work. Another example is buying equipment that speeds up your workflow, a better laptop, a faster hard drive, a better camera. If it cuts your work time in half, it's not an expense, it's an investment. It could also be investing outside your business, things like index funds, long-term investments, or starting a second income stream. Money that grows on its own is one of the most powerful financial habits you can build. Another one is education and skill building, courses, mentorship books, software training, anything that increases your earning potential for years to come. Because here's the thing, money only grows when you give it a job. If it just sits in your account, it slowly loses value. But when you put it into something that creates more money, that's when your business starts scaling. This habit helped me build a 6-figure business because it shifted the way I saw money. I stopped treating it like something I needed to hold on to tightly and started treating it like a tool, something I could use strategically to grow faster and smarter. And the moment you learn to make your money work for you instead of you constantly working for it, everything in your business changes. So those are the money habits that genuinely helped me build and sustain a 6-figure digital product business. And I hope this reminds you that making money is one thing, but managing it well is what actually keeps your business alive long term. If you want a smarter, more organized way to track your finances, cash flow, and overall business health, definitely check out Xero. You can get 90% off for 6 months using the link below, so it's the perfect time to get your systems in place. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do. It really helps my channel. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye!